What if the Empire's greatest weapon isn't the Death Star, but the fact that most citizens obey without force? Its power comes not from constant violence, but from making resistance feel irrational. Speaking out feels costly. Silence feels like survival. After the Clone Wars, the galaxy is told the Empire restored order after the Republic and Jedi fell. But the dark times aren't dark because terror is everywhere. They're dark because fear becomes routine, control feels normal, and obedience turns into habit. Order without freedom. The Empire does not demand that its citizens love it. Love is unreliable. Loyalty is fragile. What the Empire truly wants is predictability. Predictable behavior, predictable obedience, predictable silence. When people act the same way every day, never asking why, power becomes effortless. Imperial order works by narrowing choices. You can work, travel, shop, and survive, but only within boundaries you did not design and cannot challenge. The Empire does not need citizens to cheer, it only needs them to comply. Over time, that compliance reshapes culture itself. Conversations become careful, opinions are softened, jokes are filtered before they are spoken. People don't stop thinking, they just stop sharing their thoughts. The normalization of fear. Fear under the Empire is not loud most of the time. It is procedural, it is administrative. It arrives in the form of checkpoints, inspections, permits, and identification requests that feel temporary but never go away. These measures are always framed as necessary. Necessary for safety. Necessary for order. Necessary because someone else caused a problem. Stormtroopers become a common sight, not because violence is constant, but because the reminder of violence is enough. Surveillance technology fills the gaps where soldiers are absent. Probe droids drift quietly. Records are kept. Data accumulates. People are categorized. The Death Star represents the extreme end of this logic. It is not built to be used daily, it is built to be remembered. One destroyed planet sends a message more powerful than 1,000 speeches. It tells the galaxy that obedience is not optional, and that disobedience can be erased completely. Fear works best when it becomes boring. The Imperial Security Bureau and the politics of suspicion. If stormtroopers represent the Empire's visible authority, the Imperial Security Bureau embodies its invisible pressure. The ISB does not wait for open rebellion to reveal itself. It hunts potential long before resistance takes shape. It studies behavioral patterns, tracks associations, and listens for subtle changes in tone rather than overt acts of defiance. A complaint voiced too often, a question asked too sharply, or a silence held too long can all become points of interest. Under the ISB's gaze, intention matters as much as action, and sometimes more. Within this system, suspicion steadily replaces trust. Neighbors become cautious around neighbors, never fully certain who might be reporting to whom. Co-workers avoid sensitive topics, not because they agree with Imperial rule, but because disagreement feels unsafe. Even families learn to divide their conversations into public and private versions, with some thoughts carefully withheld even at the dinner table. The ISB does not need to arrest everyone to maintain control. It only needs to convince people that someone, somewhere, might always be listening. Over time, this uncertainty reshapes behavior at a fundamental level. A culture of self-censorship takes hold, not through constant threats, but through memory. People begin editing themselves automatically, instinctively trimming their words before they are spoken. This restraint does not come from what happened to them personally, but from what they remember happening to someone else months or years earlier. Fear becomes inherited knowledge, passed quietly from one generation to the next, embedded in habits rather than laws. Life in the shadow of the Inquisitors. For Force-sensitive individuals, fear under the Empire becomes far more intimate and immediate. After Order 66, the Empire does not simply dismantle the Jedi as an institution. It seeks to erase the very idea of the Jedi from the galaxy's collective memory. The Inquisitorius exists for this purpose, transforming Force sensitivity itself into a liability. Being a Jedi is no longer a role or a calling. It is a death sentence waiting to be triggered. Stories travel faster than facts. Whispers of red lightsabers circulate through spaceports and marketplaces. Tales of interrogations, disappearances, and fortress strongholds where captives are broken rather than questioned take on a near mythic quality. Even those who have never seen an Inquisitor understand the risk instinctively. Helping a Jedi is not considered brave, it is considered suicidal. Knowing a Jedi is dangerous. Being suspected of knowing one is worse. This fear does not remain confined to Force users. It spills outward into the wider population, infecting entire communities. People begin policing themselves long before the Empire arrives. Rumors become weapons, capable of destroying lives without a single stormtrooper lifting a blaster. Silence becomes a form of protection. In this environment, the Empire does not need to search every home or interrogate every citizen. Fear ensures that most doors remain closed on their own. Obedience through exhaustion. The Empire understands something crucial about control. Exhausted people are easier to rule. When survival consumes all available energy, rebellion becomes an abstract luxury. Most citizens are not ideological supporters of the Empire. They are workers, parents, merchants, and laborers trying to get through the week without drawing attention. Economic pressure reinforces political obedience. Stability is offered conditionally. Jobs exist as long as questions do not. Travel is permitted as long as compliance is visible. The Empire allows normal life to continue just enough that disrupting it feels irresponsible. Resistance begins to look selfish. Silence begins to look mature. The illusion of peace. From a distance, Imperial worlds can look calm. Streets are orderly. Crime appears low. There are no public debates, no protests, no political chaos. To some, this feels like peace. But peace under the Empire is not the absence of violence. It is the absence of permission. People are not safer, they are quieter. This illusion is carefully maintained. The Empire presents itself as permanent, inevitable, and too vast to oppose. Its fleets dominate space. Its symbols dominate architecture. Its authority is reinforced everywhere, even when it is not actively exercised. The message is subtle but constant. Nothing you do will change this. Why resistance feels impossible. The Empire's most effective weapon is not fear itself, but futility. It works tirelessly to convince people that resistance is pointless, that rebels are reckless dreamers, that helping them will only bring suffering to innocent families. When someone does resist, the response is calculated. The Empire isolates, discredits, and erases, not always through execution, but through reputation destruction, imprisonment, or quiet disappearance. Each punishment serves as a warning. People learn from examples. The Empire knows this. It doesn't need many examples. Just enough. Culture under control. Over time, Imperial rule reshapes culture. Art becomes safer. Entertainment avoids themes of freedom or rebellion. Education emphasizes order, obedience, and gratitude toward authority. History is rewritten not with obvious lies, but with selective memory. Children grow up knowing which questions are inappropriate before they understand why. This is how obedience becomes cultural rather than enforced. The Empire does not merely rule bodies, it conditions minds. By the time rebellion resurfaces openly, it feels radical, not because it is violent, but because it dares to imagine alternatives. The dark truth of the dark times. Life under the Empire is not defined by constant terror. It is defined by constant calculation. Every choice carries invisible risk. Every word is weighed. Every action is filtered through the question, is this worth it? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that is the Empire's greatest success. Not the Death Star, not the fleets, not the Inquisitors, but the quiet moment when a citizen decides that freedom is too dangerous to pursue. The dark times weren't dark because the galaxy was always on fire. They were dark because people learned to live without light. Fear became routine. Control felt normal. Obedience felt practical. And the Empire didn't need everyone to believe in it. It only needed them to stop believing in themselves. If you want more deep dives that uncover the hidden systems of power, fear, and control, shaping entire worlds, like and subscribe.